The sky above Earth was no longer blue. It was black, filled with shapes that blotted out the stars. Massive warships, larger than any human imagination, hung in orbit, casting shadows over cities that had never seen such terror. People stopped in the streets, phones raised, eyes wide with fear. Satellites blinked out of service, communication lines fell silent, and panic spread like wildfire. News channels flickered to life with grainy footage of the largest ship, the flagship of the alien fleet. Towering on its deck was a figure that seemed almost unreal, the alien queen. Her body shimmered with alien armor, and her eyes glowed like molten fire. She raised a hand, and a voice unlike any human sound echoed across the planet, amplified by devices humans could not even see. "No mercy for Earth. Surrender or be destroyed." The words vibrated in every city, in every home. Mothers held children close. Soldiers gripped weapons that suddenly felt useless. Scientists and politicians stared at screens, mouths open, as the Queen's words promised a total end. Humanity had faced threats before, wars, natural disasters, pandemics, but nothing like this. And yet, amidst the chaos, one man stood calm. Captain Aiden. Aiden was no ordinary human. He was a soldier, a scientist, a survivor. He had endured deserts hotter than the sun, storms that shredded steel, and planets where nothing human should have lived. He walked through worlds that ate men alive and lived to tell the story. And now he stared at the alien fleet from a hidden bunker beneath what used to be a bustling city. He smiled. Not fear, not panic, a smile. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed. A deep, confident laugh that rang out over the radio network that somehow, miraculously, he had managed to keep operational. People who heard him paused. Some thought the broadcast was a glitch. Others frowned. Who laughs when the end is near? Aiden's eyes scanned the flagship, the towering figure of the alien queen, and the hundreds of smaller ships that swarmed like predatory insects around the planet. "They really think shouting threats can scare us?" he muttered to himself. "They don't know humans yet." Even in his bunker, he felt the tension, the fear in the air, but he didn't share it. He had a plan, though he didn't say it out loud. Aiden knew humans were not just fragile creatures. They were clever, adaptable, and dangerous when cornered. That was the truth the Queen had yet to discover. He picked up a map of Earth, with glowing dots marking the alien landing zones. Each dot was a potential death trap, a site where millions could die. And yet, for Aiden, it was a puzzle, a challenge. His laugh softened into a confident smirk as he whispered, "Let them come. Let them see what humans can do." Somewhere far above, the alien queen watched her monitors. She saw humans tremble and panic, except for one human who dared to laugh. And for the first time, she felt something she had never felt: curiosity. What could make a human laugh in the face of annihilation? The planet held its breath, and so did Aiden. The first explosions shook the Earth. From orbit, the alien Queen's fleet unleashed their orbital cannons. Cities burned within moments. Towers that had stood for centuries crumbled into clouds of ash. Smoke rose like black oceans, swallowing everything in sight. People ran blindly through streets, screaming for help that would never come. Military forces scrambled, jets took off, missiles were fired, and naval ships tried to respond, but nothing worked. The alien technology was unlike anything humanity had ever faced. Shields absorbed every strike, weapons melted before they even reached the ships. Panic spread faster than fire. It was the end, or so everyone thought. But not everyone. In a hidden bunker beneath a shattered city, Captain Aiden sat calmly.
Around him, a handful of soldiers clutched their weapons and stared at the screens. Sweat streaked their faces, hearts pounding. Aiden, however, leaned back in his chair, eyes tracing the movements of the alien ships. "Amateurs," he said quietly, almost to himself, then louder, with a calm sarcasm that made the soldiers blink. "Really, they think this is impressive?" The soldiers looked at him, unsure whether to admire his courage or fear his madness. Aiden didn't answer. Instead, he analyzed the patterns, the rhythm of the orbital strikes, the angles of attack, the timing of ship movements. He noticed small, almost invisible flaws in the otherwise perfect destruction. As he studied the alien fleet, his mind wandered back to a place far worse than anything Earth could offer. Varkon 9, the Deathworld. A planet where storms ripped through metal like paper, where predators hunted humans for sport, and where entire colonies were wiped out in hours. Aiden survived, others died screaming, and now, staring at the Queen's fleet, he felt nothing. This was just another challenge, another puzzle, another Tuesday, as he often joked to himself in dark moments. The soldiers around him still flinched with every explosion. They watched helplessly as entire neighborhoods turned to ash, as screaming echoes filled the streets. But Aiden remained calm. His fingers traced the holographic map of Earth, marking the impact zones, predicting the next strike with frightening accuracy. Meanwhile, far above, the alien Queen's eyes narrowed. She had expected fear, despair, total submission. Instead, she saw a planet filled with trembling humans, and one who did not bend, one who laughed, one who remained unbroken. Her fury grew. Every shot she fired, every weapon she unleashed was meant to crush human morale. She had never failed before. She had seen worlds surrender without a fight, and yet her ultimate weapon, the one that could obliterate cities in seconds, had not shattered the human spirit, not even close. "What is this?" she hissed to her commanders, her voice sharp as a blade. "Why does one human defy us? Why is his courage unbroken?" Back in the bunker, Aiden's eyes flicked to the city beyond reinforced walls. He saw destruction, he saw chaos, and yet he also saw opportunity. Every miscalculation by the alien fleet was a chance, every attack a hint at weakness. He smiled faintly, tapping his fingers on the control console. "Okay," he said softly, "let's show them what humans are really capable of." Outside, the world burned. Inside, a spark of resistance had just ignited.
The stolen alien scout ship floated silently through the black void of space. Its sleek metal surface reflected the distant flames of Earth below. Inside, Captain Aiden crouched with his small strike team, 5 of the bravest humans alive. Each one knew the danger. Each one knew the mission might be their last. And yet, none showed fear, not when Aiden was leading them. "Remember," he whispered, eyes locked on the glowing silhouette of the alien Queen's flagship. "They think we are weak. They think we follow patterns. We are about to prove them wrong." The scout ship shivered as it passed the alien patrols. Sensors blinked warnings, red alarms screaming through the hull. But Aiden's hands moved with calm precision, guiding the craft through narrow gaps, avoiding detection. Every maneuver was calculated, every second critical. Sweat ran down his face, but his voice never shook. Finally, they reached the flagship. Its massive hull loomed above them, darker than the void, filled with alien symbols that humans could not even begin to understand. The airlock opened like a predator's jaw. The team slipped inside, unseen, moving through corridors that gleamed with alien metal and pulsed with energy. The Queen's soldiers patrolled, their armor clanking, their weapons scanning. But humans were clever. Shadows became allies, and silence became their shield. Every step brought them closer to the ship's core, to the AI that controlled the fleet. Aiden studied the console with sharp eyes.
Alien technology was intimidating, but humans had something the Queen's machines lacked: imagination. He tapped and swiped, rerouted power, and whispered instructions to his team. Then, with a final keystroke, the impossible happened. The AI that controlled the fleet turned against its own ships. Across space, human cities and defenses suddenly had openings. Alien ships collided, cannons misfired, and soldiers shouted in confusion. Humans had done the unthinkable. They had turned the Queen's own army into chaos. The Queen's monitors lit up with warnings. Her eyes burned like stars, and her voice shook with rage. "Impossible!" she screamed. "One human, one insignificant human has undone everything." Aiden moved through the corridors with calculated calm. His team followed, watching as the Queen's perfect plan began to crumble. Every misstep, every failure of her fleet was a testament to human adaptability. The soldiers muttered among themselves, fear turning to disbelief, then to anger. Humans were not following rules. Humans were inventing them as they went. The Queen roared, a sound that could freeze the blood of any alien witness. She activated her final weapon, a device so powerful it could erase entire continents in a single blast. The ground on Earth quaked, cities trembled, humanity's fate hung by a thread thinner than steel. Aiden paused, feeling the weight of the moment. He knew the weapon could end everything, and yet he did not falter. He looked at his team and nodded. "Remember," he said, his voice calm, almost cheerful. From orbit to Earth's surface, tension reached a breaking point. The countdown had begun. The planet's destruction was imminent, and all eyes, human and alien alike, were on one man who refused to bow. The flagship's weapons glowed. Earth held its breath, and Captain Aiden prepared to strike again. The air inside the alien Queen's flagship was heavy with tension. Every surface glimmered with cold alien metal, humming with energy. The corridors were vast, impossibly high, and silent except for the distant echo of machinery. At the heart of the ship, in the throne room that seemed larger than a city hall, the Queen waited. She was terrifying, towering over any human, armored with black and silver plates that seemed to shift like living shadows. She radiated authority and power. Her eyes burned like molten stars. Every human who had entered her domain had cowered, screamed, or died. But not Aiden. He stepped forward calmly, his chest straight, hands empty. His small strike team stayed behind, ready to act if needed. The Queen's gaze swept over him, and she laughed, a sound that could crush steel. "You dare enter my throne room, human? Do you not see your world burning? Your species is fragile, weak, and doomed. You cannot survive me." Aiden tilted his head, a small, confident smile on his face. "You forget what humans are capable of," he said, his voice steady. "We survive, we adapt, and we fight differently than you expect." The Queen's eyes narrowed. She had never met a human like him, one who did not tremble, one who did not beg. Her fury flared. The battle began. Aiden moved with precision, luring alien guards into traps he had prepared. Energy fields sparked, metal walls shifted, and the Queen's soldiers fell to clever tricks that no alien could predict. He used alien technology against them, hacking weapons and turning their own systems into hazards. Every move was calculated, every second critical. Every move was unexpected, chaotic, brilliant.
For a moment, it seemed the Queen might win. She unleashed her full power, energy blasts that shook the room, metal spikes that shot from the floor, and shadows that reached like living hands. Aiden dodged, rolled, and countered with ingenuity, barely escaping each strike. The battle pushed him to the limits of human endurance. Then, as if on cue,
Earth itself answered. From cities and hidden bunkers, humanity launched a coordinated counterattack. Guided by Aiden's patterns, soldiers and civilians used captured alien weapons, improvised shields, and clever traps to strike at the invaders. Alien ships faltered, soldiers panicked, and the battlefield shifted. The Queen's fury turned to disbelief. Her perfect control of the war had been broken. Humans were not just surviving, they were fighting smarter, faster, and together. They adapted to every attack, learned from every mistake, and used every weakness against her. Aiden stood his ground in the throne room, dodging a sweeping energy strike. Sparks flew as he ducked under another attack. He glanced at the Queen and smiled faintly. "This is just the beginning," he said. The flagship shook violently as Earth's coordinated resistance struck at its systems. The Queen stumbled, her armor sparking, her soldiers in chaos. Yet she still stood, powerful and terrifying, her anger boiling. But for the first time, she understood that humans were not fragile. They were unpredictable, cunning, and united. And the man in front of her, Captain Aiden, was the spark that had lit their fire. The throne room trembled. The battle for humanity's survival had reached its peak, and now the world waited to see who would emerge victorious. The alien Queen's roar echoed across space as her flagship shook under the combined force of human ingenuity. Sparks flew from her armor, systems failed one by one, and her soldiers fell in disarray. The fleet that had once blotted out the stars now scattered like frightened birds, retreating into the void. The Queen herself disappeared into the shadows of her crippled flagship, defeated, humiliated, and furious. On Earth, silence fell. Smoke still curled from ruined cities, and the horizon glowed red with fires that could not be contained. But for the first time in days, humans dared to breathe freely. The worst had passed. Humanity had survived. Captain Aiden stood at the edge of a city that had been reduced to rubble. Dust coated his clothes, and the wind carried the faint smell of smoke and ash. Around him, the survivors emerged cautiously from shelters, blinking at the sunlight that had returned to a sky no longer filled with alien shadows. They were tired, battered, and scared, but they were alive. Aiden's eyes swept over the devastation. He had seen worse. He had survived worlds where every step could mean death, where planets themselves seemed determined to erase humanity. And yet here he was, calm, confident, smiling. News broadcasts, scattered and fragile, picked up his image. Across every channel, humans watched as Aiden walked through the ruins, unbroken, defiant. Children stared with wide eyes. Soldiers felt a new surge of courage. Even those who had lost everything felt hope for the first time in months. "You thought we would kneel?" Aiden said into the camera, his voice steady and calm, carrying across the airwaves. "We only laugh." That laugh, simple and human, became a symbol of defiance, of courage, and of resilience. It traveled faster than any broadcast, faster than any fleet, and reached ears across the galaxy. Aliens who had witnessed the defeat whispered in fear and confusion. Humans had survived the impossible. Humans had fought against annihilation and lived. Governments and armies began the slow work of rebuilding. Engineers repaired what they could, and scientists worked tirelessly to understand the alien technology they had captured. Humanity was not only surviving, it was learning, growing stronger, and adapting. Stories of courage spread. Aiden's strike team became legends. Ordinary humans who had fought back in small ways were celebrated. Each act of resistance, each moment of ingenuity reminded the world that humans were not fragile. They were clever, adaptive, and dangerous when cornered. From the ashes of devastation, Earth rose. Cities would take years to rebuild, but humanity's spirit was stronger than ever. The galaxy, which had once seen humans as weak and insignificant, now whispered a new truth. This was a species that could survive anything, a species that laughed at death itself. And Captain Aiden, the man who had dared to confront the most powerful alien in the galaxy, stood as a reminder of what humans could do when they refused to surrender. His eyes gleamed with quiet pride, his smile unwavering. Humanity had won. And in that victory, the galaxy learned a lesson it would never forget. You cannot break the human spirit.